There's three main types of filtration when it comes to filtering water. Number one is chemical filtration, using things like activated charcoal to soak up organic pollutants or chemicals in the water. Number two is mechanical filtration. That's usually a bunch of sponges that will trap sediments or larger materials like leaves. And number three is biological filtration. The job of this filter is to provide surface area for good bacteria to grow on. A bog filter is essentially a supersized biological filter, although when designed correctly, it can also trap sediments. A mechanical filter will also offer some form of biological filtration, as the good bacteria will also grow on the sponges that are used to trap sediments. In this video, I just want to focus on a bog filter and whether it's enough all by itself to filter a pond. So if that interests you, stick around, and if it doesn't, I completely understand. If you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and the aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain ponds without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, feel free to subscribe and check out my website, Ozponds.com. So straight off the bat, if all you want is clear water, a properly sized bog filter will easily take care of that for you. How you size the bog filter depends on its use. As a general rule, if the pond has no fish and it's built purely as a water garden or wildlife pond, 5% of the pond's volume is adequate. For a simple goldfish pond, you're looking at 10% the volume. Bigger fish like koi, 15 to 20%, and if you plan on swimming in it, you probably should go 25% or more. And of course, every pond is a bit different, but that's just a good starting point to achieve clean, clear, healthy water. You'll also want to select a bog design that will allow you an easy way to clean it, and you want to design it in a way that it helps trap sediments. I've got plenty of videos showing different bog designs I've built over the years, and I also have some resources available on Ozponds.com that are aimed at helping people build their own bog filter. There's lots of different ways a bog filter can be built, but the main things for me are appropriate size, it's easy to clean, and has a flow rate that matches the size of the bog. I'll also put a link in the description to a video about bog design. So if it's designed properly, we can easily achieve clear water. Well, within reason. If you're throwing in tons of food every day, that will overwhelm the system and lead to all kinds of issues with fish health, water quality, and clarity. So the bog filter can easily take care of all our biological filter requirements, and it does provide some mechanical filter benefits by trapping sediments. But just like a sponge in a traditional mechanical filter, it needs to be cleaned. Otherwise it will become full, it will either clog with the sediments, or they'll just push through the filter and return to the pond. Because a bog filter is so much larger than traditional filters, this cleaning is much less frequent. But what I've noticed over the years that I've been running bog filters is that they are far from perfect at capturing sediments. Part of the problem is no doubt my laziness. I very rarely clean and flush them out. I recently just did a clean out on one that I'd neglected for 3 years, so I'll link that in the description. And so as the years go on, the pond collects more and more sediment. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as every natural body of water has some sedimentation occurring. I actually have a theory that it's a good thing, as it shows a pond has reached a certain level of maturity. New ponds are punks, they're unpredictable, and they grow algae. Mature ponds are wonderful. They just do their own thing and rarely have any issues. But too much sedimentation can be annoying, it looks a bit messy. If you're like me and you like to swim in the pond, it gets stirred up and then you can't see the fish when you're snorkeling around. So if you are building a new pond, you might consider adding in a dedicated mechanical filter to collect these particles. I'm planning on trying one on my courtyard pond to see if it makes a difference. The problem for me is that if I don't regularly flush the mechanical filter out, it might well be a useless exercise. But if you know that sediment is going to be something that will bother you, you need to have a plan. In aquascape ecosystem ponds, they completely drain the pond and pressure wash everything down and pump out the dirty water. That's one way to get rid of the sediment. They say it replicates the way a river system is flushed out during floods, and I guess that's true. In traditional koi ponds, they use bottom drains to suck up all the waste that settles on the bottom of the pond and pump it into a dedicated filter that separates the waste. From there, it's removed from the system. These filters are cleaned very frequently. In natural ponds, the sediments just accumulate, and then once every blue moon, the pond might need to be dredged. At the moment, the way that I mechanically filter the pond is when the sediments annoy me, I tend to stir the pond up and use a fine net to remove as much as I can. Sometimes I'll vacuum in the areas where I see a big build-up. I like the idea of bottom drains, but they're not something that I've used personally, but they're certainly something that is worth consideration. I also don't just want to allow the sediments to continue to accumulate without any removal. Maybe before I try a dedicated mechanical filter on the courtyard pond, I should try flushing the bog filter, let's say once a month. It's very easy on this pond, I just need to remember to do it, and maybe that would make a difference. So I think it's important to remove some of the sedimentation, as the amount of organic particles inside the pond will affect the amount of dissolved oxygen. Everything inside the pond requires oxygen. I recently did a test on all my ponds with a 7-in-1 water testing device. Redox, or the ORP reading, is a good measure of how the organic material is impacting the water health. So I'll link that video also if you want to see the results of testing all my ponds, and it'll give you some ideas on how much sediment can build up before it's an issue for water health. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. The point is, if you want clean, clear, healthy water, a bog is a great filter, and it can be enough in its own right. But if you have a sediment problem, or you know that it's something that will annoy you, and you want the pond to always look super clean, definitely think about incorporating a dedicated mechanical filter to trap those sediments. The closest thing on my ponds that I have to a dedicated mechanical filter is when I add an intake bay or a DIY skimmer, but these don't really capture the fine stuff, they just stop the large stuff from making it to the pumps. If anyone has seen some awesome dedicated mechanical filter designs, or they want to share them, please put them down in the comments so others can see. Anyway, I think I'll stop talking now. I'm sure everyone's fallen asleep anyway. If you made it here, thanks for watching. See ya.